Number five, to me, is underestimating the complexity and cost of the exit process.
Yeah, these are hard. I mean, I like number three, and I talk about number four. Number five can be the one that hurts, right? Because everybody wants, when they say, okay, I've decided to sell, they think this transaction is going to go quick, and it's not, right? When we look at typical timelines, even what we found from when we said, hey, would you like to sell your business? Yes, let's start the discussion. We were probably, and this was a strategic deal that they wanted to get done quick. And they always said, we're going to do this quick. It took us I think it was 7 months just to get to an LOI and another 4 months to actually get through due diligence. So we're talking almost a year in somebody who is highly motivated to buy. And the other side of it is what you fail to realize is not only time, but now we get lawyers involved, we get accountants involved. And if we're not ready to sell, the worst thing that can happen is you go down the path, you invest all this money, and then you don't like the valuation, and now you have to walk away from a lot of hard-earned money.
Yeah. And you think about it, when you're getting lawyers involved and accountants involved and all this stuff, that's every hour they're working on your stuff, right? You're paying them money, and you do that for a year and you get to the end of the road and decide not to. That's a lot of sunk costs. So I think people do underestimate the complexity and cost of that stuff. And are you willing to go down that route? Do you have a plan?
Yeah. Well, I think, and this is kind of interesting for number five, is a lot of why I believe, we wanted to start by design is for this very reason. Let's be honest. Investment bankers, M&A people, lawyers and accountants are not there working for you. They're there to de-risk the business. They're there to tell you what you can and cannot do, but they're not there to talk about your heart. They're not there to talk about, are you ready? They're not even there to look at the exact value. And so what happens is we get a little bit ahead of ourselves and we start hiring all these people when they're not really there for your side. They're there for a transaction. They get paid on the transaction. And so to me, one of the things that, as you look about the biggest mistake, is before you start hiring all these people, you really need to bring an advisor in who can help you work through this stuff that's not going to charge you an arm and a leg. And two, is not invested in a transaction happening, but that you make the right decision.
Yeah, to me, this almost can loop back into number one, that lack of a strategic plan. I think if you sit down and you really go through strategic exit planning, you'll uncover the complexity, you'll uncover the cost, you'll have a little more knowledge on what maybe you're currently valued at and the stuff you need to do, which then again, when that phone rings, you kind of know, yeah, I'm not ready yet, hang up. Or yeah, no, I already know kind of what we're worth. I kind of know what I want and how much I need and all this stuff. And it'll help just reduce some of that complexity because you've gone through the planning process.
Right. One other thing to think about, I think, in this one is we have to be careful about keeping our performance up and losing focus. Because one of the things we have to be really careful about is we start getting excited. We start thinking about money in our bank account. We start getting caught up in this process. How much revenue does this process bring?
Zero.
Right? It is a time drain, it's a brain drain, and it's a money drain. And so one of the things that gets a lot of companies in trouble is they get sucked in thinking it's going to be short, and they lose sight on delivering. They lose sight of the business. And what's going to happen if your business dips right before you close?
The offer's probably going to dip with it.
Yeah, right? The money's going to dip. And this becomes one of the hardest things, is to not lose focus and get so caught up in the deal that you stop running the business.
Yeah, I want you to talk a little bit. You told me once the person with the time chip has the advantage. Do you want to talk a little bit about just what the time chip is?
Yeah, to me, the time chip in any negotiation is the person who has time on their side will win. And I always laugh because I went to buy a car for my wife and she wanted a certain car. And I walked in the car dealership and they said, we have one next month, 2 in 3 months, and 1 in 4 months. Which one do you want? I didn't own the time chip. I said, if I take the next one, I'm paying whatever.
Yep.
They own the time chip. If they had 20 sitting on the lot and I could buy at any time, then I own the time chip. So negotiation. So to me, in any negotiation, you have to understand what's the time that's involved. And so if you're looking at, let's say, a strategic deal, or they need it to win a piece of business and you own the time chip, then you're in control. Then you have certain things you can do. If somebody really is playing the long game, and a lot of times when we look at private equity, they're playing the long game. They're in it for the long haul. They're not looking at flipping in a year, 2 years. So when they have the long game, they own the time chip. And what they really want to do is not only do they want to get to an LOI, but then they want to sit on it. Because what they want to do is watch to see how you perform, right? When you buy a deal, the longer they get to see it, the more they understand what they're buying. And so you have to be very careful about that time chip.
Yeah, the time chip is very important because, again, the longer let's say you buy a new car, right? It looks great on the lot. It's freshly washed, waxed, and then you get in and you start driving, and you start to notice, oh, that's a weird noise, or hey, this doesn't work. So the longer they can sit on you and just watch to see how you perform, they're either going to get more excited because you're performing, and maybe even you win because revenue's going up, or it goes down and they win because now they're going to, like you said, dip the offer. So I think all 5 of these things are very important, and it's all things that we love helping owners work through.
Yeah.